Hey everyone, it's Matt from Train Sim Society and welcome back to the channel. I am just stoked for this one. We have an update on MBTA Commuter. If you don't already know, the route has unfortunately been delayed 2 weeks. The preview stream delayed 2 weeks as well as the official release, but it is coming out soon in November. Our preview is also coming in early November. We have new screens, new information on the schedule, layers, and more. So without further ado, we are just going to jump straight in, first starting with our brand new screenshot. A comprehensive schedule has been implemented to MBTA Commuter, recreating the cadence of passenger services between Boston South and Worcester Union stations. As in real life, all services departing Boston South are locomotive hauled, with cab cars running east from Worcester to Framingham, back to Boston. I'm going to go ahead and assume that Amtrak is going to layer on this route, obviously not for most of the run on this journey, but for the portion that is around Boston South, you do see Northeast Regionals as well as Acela services. Plus, there are other lines that do meet up and end at Boston South. So I'm hoping that we see all of those services the same way that we see them in the Boston Sprinter route on this section of the line. So it's going to be pretty busy. So we have our first screenshot view for the cabs of both the HSP46, the one that's on your screen right now. This looks amazing. And it also looks just very different from what we already have with US Diesel in the game. Definitely some variation here. I think the modeling for the interior of this cab is very, very well done. I can't wait to get my hands on it, feel how it drives, hear the sounds and all of that, but it looks really, really well done, as does a lot of stuff on this route, honestly, from what we've seen so far with other screenshots and other articles. And for our second screenshot, we have the CTC5 cab car. So two new ways to drive with this DLC, as services heading in one direction will be in the HSP46 and services driving the opposite direction will be in the cab car. Again, I think this looks very well modeled, definitely up to the Train Sim World 5 standards in my opinion. Track and ballast and scenery out of the windows also looks really good, honestly, in both the screenshots. Cannot wait to get my hands on this one. On all westbound services, both the HSP46 and F40PH3C can be substituted, giving players a choice of traction. Equally, both the CTC3 and CTC5 cab cars can be selected for all eastbound services. The vast majority of services running the length of the line to Worcester, with some services terminating at Framingham and returning to Boston. An unusual form of operation occurs during peak hours, whereby trains run on the wrong road to accommodate a selection of stations featuring only one platform, such as those that run alongside the I-90 highway at Newtonville, West Newton, and Auburndale. At other times, trains are required to change tracks. This is something to watch out for players used to running consistently on the same side of the tracks on other American routes. No, this is so exciting. So I'm assuming that if you're heading in one direction and you have to switch a track to access a platform, if there's a train coming in the other direction, they're probably going to have to wait ahead of you at a red signal. So I guess whether you're the train that's switching or the train that's waiting on the other side, you're probably going to be facing some adverse signal conditions to, accommodate to this. I really, really like that. That gives a change of pace in terms of gameplay. And you can see that here with this screenshot. In America, on American railways, you ride on the right side of the tracks, but there's no platform on the right side here. So you can tell that this train is moving away from where the camera is positioned, but they're all the way to the left. So there are going to be times where you have to switch all the way over, then of course get all the way back onto the right side. I'm assuming after you've picked up passengers. Now, I don't know this route super well, so I don't know how exactly it's going to work, or if, this service is going to ride on the left for a little while, or if it's going to switch back over right away. But I just think that this is such a unique thing. And it's cool that we have a route like this for US players in game. Non-revenue services will be playable at both ends of the line, from Worcester to Worcester Yard and from Boston South Station to Southampton Street Yard. Boston South Station will feature AI AI traffic representing all other MBTA commuter lines that run from there, including Providence, Stoughton, and Redville services. Yes, cool. So we're bringing that over from our Boston Sprinter route. So Boston South is going to be very, very busy, just like I predicted. All right, so our next section here is additional service layers. Players with the Northeast Corridor, Boston to Providence, that's the Boston Sprinter route add-on, will also see Amtrak Northeast Regional trains hauled by the ACS 64 locomotive and Amfleet passenger cars. Some of these trains will be playable as short, non-revenue services using the balloon loop at Boston. Oh, that's so cool. So obviously you could switch to the Boston Sprinter route if you have it, if you've purchased it, to play those services going all the way down to Providence or using the balloon loop. But if you have that add-on, you'll be able to do some of those services, ones that are applicable to this route, on the MBTA commuter route as well, which I really, really do like. And also the Amtrak's Acela will also appear for players that own the Loco add-on, and some of these will be playable as non-revenue services too. So already a big chunk of extra DLC. I'm crossing my fingers for freight. I'm hoping it's in here. I'm assuming it will be since we're covering the timetable in this, but oh my gosh, please, please, please. They do right here note the screenshot above shows an updated PIS, which was not shown in the previous coming soon article. Thank God they have updated the PIS systems, at least for this version of Boston South Station for the MBTA commuter route. They might as well just, update Boston Sprinter as well. I mean, they plan to add track shadows on that route. I mean, it was on the patch notes a while back, and also with that being an add-on for this route for the Amtrak stuff, it only makes sense. Also, can we please have a PIS upgrade on New York Trenton? Why are we using UK stuff on that? Like that should have never happened, but it's great that we're finally getting that PIS upgrade. It's about damn time. Unlike the previous Boston route, NEC Boston to Providence, the line to Worcester does accommodate regular freight services further west along the line between Framingham to Worcester. As a result, players with a selection of freight route add-ons can unlock more playable and AI services. Yes, this is what I wanted to see. Add more traffic to the route, make it feel more lively. The fact that it's not just AI too and that we will actually be able to play it is just very, very exciting. They write players with the Horseshoe Curve will be able to run extra playable services where MBTA locomotives haul flat cars, as is sometimes the case in real life. Oh, that's interesting. AA freight services can also be seen at CSX's Worcester Intermodal Terminal, located just next to Worcester Union Station. The schedule features a few trains that serve here throughout the day, consisting of Husky, Maxi Stack, and flatbed or truck trailer cars. To unlock the CSX Worcester Intermodal Terminal trains, players require all of the following add-ons. You're going to need Horseshoe Curve, you're going to need Cajon Pass, and you're going to need Sand Patch Grade. If you're a US player and you have most or all US routes, this shouldn't be a problem for you. So like myself, I guess I won't have to worry about picking up anything because I already own all of these. Actually, I think the only US freight that I don't have is Cane Creek, and I'm kind of happy about it because I don't think it's included here. Additional freight services can appear between Framingham and Worcester using stock and locomotives from a wider selection of add-ons to represent the variation of stock and consist that these trains typically run in real life. This includes a small local train heading towards Boston, which runs long hood forward. These additional services are playable, but all of the add-ons listed below are required to lock them. So it's definitely a little bit of a longer list here. We have Sand Patch Grade, BNSF, SD 70 ACE Loco add-on, Sherman Hill, Horseshoe Curve, and Cajon Pass. But the more DLC that you have, I guess it's just going to be more variety in what you see. They do right here, thank you to community member Yuri, who contributed with information related to these freight layers. A single in-game timetable with all layers available to unlock with the relevant add-ons will be present for all players on both 8th and 9th gen / PC platforms. So there isn't going to be an 8th gen timetable and a 9th gen timetable. Everything that they've listed here is going to be for everyone, which kind of makes me assume that the timetable is probably not anything extreme if everyone's going to get it. So hopefully you won't run into any performance or crashing issues with this route. Our next section here is MBTA Commuter signaling introduction. The highly anticipated release of MBTA Commuter Boston to Worcester is rapidly approaching, and we wanted to share some details about what you can expect from a signaling perspective. To preface, we designed this route to match the same mid-2019 time period as Boston to Providence. This decision was primarily made to maintain consistency in the scenery and the timetable. Now, let's be real. Y'all did this so that there wouldn't be more work to do. Okay, that might be a hot take, but had the supplementary benefit of increased signal variance and operational complexity. So we get into a little bit of history here on the route. I'm not going to read all of this for you. I will have it summarized. The signal modernization for the MBTA commuter line began in 1988 under Conrail, replacing the existing systems with cab signals and adding wayside signals at controlled points. Now, initially, the modernization stopped at Westboro, allowing non-cab signal trains to continue serving Framingham to Boston. But by the mid-1990s, most MBTA trains had cab signals, enabling services to Worcester by 1994. In 1996, a second track was added between Westboro and Worcester, with continued modernization extending cab signal coverage. Nowadays, in 2020, the final upgrades were completed between Framingham and Boston, finishing a 32-year effort to fully update the signaling system. Today, the line features a mix of signal types from different modernization phases, including color tri-light signals installed by Conrail, which continued until CSX took over in 1999. So this is a screenshot of the Conrail color tri-light signals at the west limits of Control Point 33 in Westboro, Massachusetts. Each CSX signal project from that point onward utilized color light signals with a large hood on them, jokingly referred to as Darth Vader signals. You'll see these in areas that CSX has performed infrastructure upgrades, such as the addition of control points 29, 30, and 42. This next screenshot shows CSX color light signals at the west limits of Control Point 29 in Westboro, Massachusetts. Between Control Point 11, 1 mile west of Auburndale Station in Boston, you'll encounter the aging searchlight signals that weren't deemed worthy of replacement back in 1996. The ones at Control Point 11 and Control Point 3 were preserved after the MBTA completed their signal project in 2020. So a bit of history still remains on that portion of the line. And in this third and final screenshot, this is a view of searchlight signals at milepost 10 in Auburndale, Massachusetts, looking east toward Boston. So lots of variation here with the different look of signals on the route. I think they did a really good job of the track and the ballast here. Like, it definitely all fits and meshes in well together. I know that is highly dependent on the time of day and is likely a core issue where the track just kind of sticks out from the ballast and looks like plastic pieces. It's something that I've talked about many times on the channel, but I feel like this does look generally very good here, and it looks very good on the San Bernardino line as well, which I really love. I think they did such a great job with that route. Definitely an upgrade for US players. So now on to our next section, which is operations. MBTA Commuter Boston to Worcester takes place before the signal upgrade in 2020. So the signal system you'll contend with is a mixture of traditional wayside signaling and cab signals without fixed wayside signals. When traveling between Boston and Framingham, you will operate the train according to the Northeast Operating Rule Advisory Committee, which is NORAC, Rule 261. This means that the track allows for bi-directional travel and that you'll control the train according to the indications of the fixed wayside signals you pass. In areas with very long distances between wayside signals, this can cause serious slowdowns when following another train. This shot here is amazing. Like, look at the lighting on that wall, on that, I'm assuming like concrete or brick wall, those slabs on the side, just the lighting of that, and on the train. This shot looks so good, and the lighting inside of that station looks even better. Gosh, I still can't get over how poor the lighting was on West Coast Main Line at London Euston, how some of those coaches looked going into the station, like they'd all light up at different levels. It definitely doesn't look like that here, so I think that that's fixed. I'm praying and hoping that is, but I love the way this shot looks. When traveling between Framingham and Worcester, you will operate the train according to NORAC Rule 562. The entire rule is quite lengthy, but you'll essentially control the train according to your cab signal indication. When passing wayside signals at controlled points, you will control the train according to the indication of the wayside signal aspect. Rule 261 also applies in these areas. Traffic flow in Rule 562 territory is typically much more efficient. To get a full understanding, refer to the NORAC operating rules. I have no doubt signals on this route are going to be A1, and the reason why I say that, I feel like I gas Brandon up so much, but his work is truly incredible. If you don't know who he is, he's known as Cactus Juice within the community and over on the forums. He did signaling for New York, MBTA Commuter. He also did the signaling for Boston Sprinter, and now has done the signaling here for this as well. So I'm sure it's going to be nothing less than amazing. There is an entire section in this article on cab signal progressions. I'm not going to go through everything here in this video, so I'm just going to let you know that it is available in the article. If you want to check it out, there is a link down in the description box below. And of course, Brandon is credited to this because this is all his work. Like, he is the reason why it's going to be what it is. And I'm very excited. It's just a lot of like really small details. So I'm not going to cover that here. We're just going to jump to the end, which is our conclusion. And of course, when you can expect to pick this up, when it's going to release. So the rail line has a long and distinguished history, with signaling only being a small part of it. I spent a great deal of time on research and implementation to ensure you have an as accurate of a signal system as possible. Furthermore, I am open to answering any signal questions you have. Finally, I hope this article got you excited because I am definitely ready to get back to Boston. So that was written by Brandon Felon, also known as Cactus Juice. Okay, so what I want to know is, did Brandon write this whole article or just this like signal progression section? Because if you read this whole article, that's amazing. It's very well done, very well written. Huge props to him. So for our end here, Train Sim World 5 MBTA Commuter Boston to Framingham Worcester route will be released on the 12th of November on Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, PS5, Epic Games, and Steam for $40 US, 35 euros, and I believe 30 quid. So the 12th is coming up. That is in exactly 2 weeks from today when I'm filming this, but by the time you guys see this tomorrow on the 30th or today on the 30th, it will be less than 2 weeks now. And we do have our preview stream, which is coming on November 5th at 1900 UTC. So that's going to be less than a week now this coming Tuesday. I'm very excited for that. Let me know down below what you guys think, all the new details, screens. We have a brand new US route, which looks exciting. The signaling is likely going to be very amazing. I don't have any doubts. And Brandon, that's going to be it for me though. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching and happy rail simming.